Definition of economy. An economy is the system by which a society organizes the production, distribution, exchange, and consumption of goods and services. It represents the sum of all activities undertaken by individuals, households, businesses, and governments to allocate scarce resources in order to satisfy human wants and needs. Key points in the definition system. It is a structured and organized, not random. Production. Creating goods and services using resources. Distribution or exchange. Ensuring goods and services reach people through market or trade or policy. Consumption. The use of goods and services to satisfy needs. Scarcity or choice. Since resources are since limited, so choice must be made about what to produce, how, and for whom. Factors of production. Production is carried out with the help of certain resources called factors of production. Economists generally recognize four main factors. Number one, land. All natural resources used in production: soil, minerals, water, forests. Number two, labor. Human effort, physical and mental. Number three, capital. Man main man-made tools, machines and financial resources. Number four, entrepreneurship, organization. The skill of combining land, labor, and capital to produce goods and services. So these are the four factors of production: one, land; two, labor; three, capital; and four is entrepreneurship. The input are these factors, and the output are the goods and services produced. Definition of production. Production is the process of transforming inputs, land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship, to outputs, goods, and services that have value and can satisfy human wants and needs. It is not limited to manufacturing physical goods, but also include the creation of services and the process of adding value. It also refers to producing goods or providing services for the purpose of selling them in the market. Key element: input, output, resources transformed into goods and services. Value addition, turning raw material or effort into something more useful. Broad scope, include both goods and services. Purpose, to satisfy human needs. Evolution of the concept. Earlier view, only the making of material goods was considered production. For example, a tailor stitching cloths was seen as production, but a trader who's selling clothes was not considered production in the earlier view. But in the modern view, both goods and services are recognized as production, provided they are meant for sale in market. So now in the modern view, both services and goods are considered the production. A tailor if stitching clothes and a trader who's selling clothes, both are in the production category. Types of production. Number one is primary production, concerned with the extraction and utilization of natural resources directly from the earth. For example, agriculture, fishing, forestry, mining produces raw materials used by other industries. Number two, secondary production, involves processing and transforming raw materials into finished or semi finished goods. For example, manufacturing industries, construction, food processing add value to raw materials. Number three, tertiary production, concerned with the provision of services that support both primary and secondary sector and directly meet consumer need. Examples: banking, transport, healthcare, education, IT services, tourism. Education itself is a major tertiary sector activity because it provides knowledge and skills as services. Additional dimensions: quaternary and quinary. Quaternary production is knowledge based activities like research, innovation, information technology. And quaternary production is high level decision making like governance, top level management, and policy making. Education overlap here too, especially in university and research institutions. Production flow diagram. Production process flow in economic applied to education. First, the input is land, labor, capital, knowledge, and the production or primary production agriculture, mining, secondary production manufacturing, third production tertiary services, education, banking, transport. Quaternary production is R&D, research and development, IT, innovation, and quaternary production is leadership, policy, and governance. And the output is goods, services, knowledge, welfare. So this is a production flow diagram. Another definition of production: production means creation of utility, that is, creating goods or services that satisfy human wants. Utility definition: in economics, utility is the ability of good or services to satisfy human wants. Utility is about consumer satisfaction, revealed by what people are willing to pay for goods. Unlike material goods, or the utility of education extends beyond personal satisfaction. It spills over into society, influencing productivity, culture, and democratic participation. Key concepts: total utility TU, the overall satisfaction gained from consuming a certain quantity of goods or services. Marginal utility MU, the extra satisfaction gained from consuming one more unit of good. Usually TU increase as more is consumed, but MU, marginal utility, decreases. Law of diminishing marginal utility. Definition: as person consumes more unit of a good, the marginal utility, extra satisfaction from each additional unit, falls. Eventually it can zero or even become negative. Here are the example: one unit consumed, total utility gained 4, and the marginal utility is here is 0 or none. The second unit consumed, the total utility gained to 6, and the marginal utility plus 2. Third unit consumed and the total utility goes to 7, and the marginal unit utility is plus 1. It decreases from 2 to 1. And when we consume fourth unit, the total utility remains 7, and the marginal utility is here 0. And when we consume fifth unit consume, the total utility from 7 to 6, and the marginal utility now it's from 0 to minus 1. So the total utility is affected by the marginal utility. So satisfaction always not the same. When we consume more things, our satisfaction level decrease, and even if reach to minus or negative. At first TU increase total utility as more unit consumed. Marginal utility, however, falls with each unit, eventually becoming zero or negative. Reason: wants are satable. It means that wants are not the thing that cannot be satisfied. Wants are like the things that can be fulfilled. Once particular wants is fulfilled, extra unit bring less satisfaction. Types of utility in education. Private utility: benefits to the individual, higher earning, better employment opportunities, social prestige, personal development, and intellectual fulfillment. Number two, social utility: benefits to society at large, enhanced productivity, reduced crime rate, improved civic engagement, civic responsibility, technological innovation, and stronger democratic institution. Number three, monetary utility. Direct financial gains from education measured in terms of income and economic growth. Number 4, non monetary utility. Broader social and psychological benefits, self esteem, empowerment, cultural enrichment, improve health and life satisfaction. So these are the types of utility. Four types: private, social, monetary, non monetary. Measuring utility in education. Utility in education is challenging to measure because many outcomes are intangible. Still, economists are use proxies. Private rate of return. Increase in individual earning relative to cost, educational cost. Social rate of return. Gains in GDP, reduced unemployment, improved health indicators. Survey based satisfaction measures. Student and graduates self reportedly well. Survey based satisfaction measures. Student and graduates self reportedly well being and life satisfaction. Challenges in utility analysis. Subjectivity. Utility is inherently subjective. What is valuable to one learner may not be to another. Time dimension. Immediate utility, learning satisfaction versus delayed utility, income, social mobility. Externalities. Education produces benefits beyond the individual, hard to capture in traditional utility metrics. Education is a black box. Why two schools with same budget, resources, and teacher produce very different results? When economists talk about education as a black box, they are borrowing a metaphor from system theory and cybernetics, not from aviation. The term black box was first popularized in engineering and system analysis by Norbert Wiener, Cybernetics 1948, and Ross Ashby 1956, An Introduction to Cybernetics, where it described a system whose internal working are unknown or too complex to model, but where we can still study inputs and outputs. Later, educational economists such as Bowles and Levin 1968, Hornschek 1979, and others began using this metaphor to describe schools. The analogy with a plane's black box. When we hear black box, we often think of the flight data recorder on an airplane. It does not tell us what happening moment by moment in the cockpit during the flight. Instead, it provides data after the fact, letting investigators reconstruct with happening moment by moment in the cockpit during the flight. Instead, it provides data after the fact, letting investigator reconstruct what inputs, altitude, speed, commands led to certain outcomes, safe landing or crash. Education functions similarly in the economic metaphor. We know the input going in students, teacher, classroom, curriculum, funding, and we know the output coming out test scores, graduation rates, employability, productivity. But the intricate internal process, the exact how of learning and transformation remains opaque. Like the cockpit in the mid flight, it is too complex, too human, too layered with social, psychological, and cultural dynamics to be reduced the equations alone. Why economics? Why economists call education as a black box measurement problem? While money spent on buildings and teachers is easy to track, measuring quality of teaching or student motivation is far trickier. Complex interactions. A child learning is influenced by family background, peer groups, societal expectations, and even chance encounters. These cannot be fully controlled. Number three, observ- indirect observability. Just like we only see the black box recorded data after plane has landed, we often judge education after the fact by wages earned, productivity achieved, or social mobility attained. Implications of the black box metaphor. Policy blind spots. Government may focus narrowly on inputs, increase spending, reduce class size, or outputs, improve test scores, without truly understanding the transformation inside classrooms. Research challenge. Education economists attempt to open the box by studying the production function of education, examining how combinations of input affects outputs, but the results are often inclusive, highlighting the limits in capturing the human element of education. Call for interdisciplinarity. To truly decode the black box, economists need insight from psychology, sociology, pedagogy, and even neuroscience. A more human view. The black box metaphor, when applies to education, is not about sealed container of a secrets, but reminder of the limit of our understanding. In aviation, a flight recorder captured data after the fact, allowing an investigator to connect inputs and outputs. In education, however, process is ongoing and deeply human. Learning is not just the mechanical transformation of inputs into outputs. It is shaped by curiosity, relationships, emotions, and lived experience as much as by textbooks, teachers, or technology. The metaphor carries a dual message. On one hand, it warns us our limited vision. We can observe input and measure output, but much of the transformation within remains unseen. On the other hand, it urges us to look closer, to explore the richness of the teaching learning process with insight from psychology, sociology, and pedagogy. In this sense, education, like flight, is a journey. The departure and the destination may be visible, but it is the complexity of what happens in between that truly determines the outcome. The black box theory, borrowed from systems theory, reminds us that the inner working of learning resists simple quantification and call for deeper interdisciplinary exploration. So this is it. Thank you so much for watching.